I'm Amanda. With Indigenous Peoples Week, I wanted to read this poem. I had wrote it when everything was happening with Wetaskiwin and the protests, and it's called The World is Watching. The world is watching, the veil is breaking. You can't hide anymore. More eyes than before that see you genocidal maniacs, acting like you are so caring. What's it all about? What's the point? Is it just money, power, and greed? How can you just stand by and watch? How does this not shake you to your core? How is it possible for you to turn a blind eye to such violence and infringement on human rights in this world? Oh, because it's not you, it's okay. Because it's not in your face, you can turn your head away. What a privilege you have to display. You say you're sick of hearing of Indigenous rights, sick of hearing of reconciliation, sick of feeling bad for what your ancestors did, sick of learning how people suffered, were beaten, were put through hell. You want to know what I'm sick of? The lack of acknowledgement that racism is still rampant, that Indigenous people are whiny and are asking for handouts, that we should go back to where we belong, that the trauma that we went through was no big deal, and that it happened so long ago. Well, guess what? You're wrong. Take a look around, open your eyes, take a listen. Turn on your brain and do some critical thinking. People are suffering in the streets, in plain sight, showing their defeat. Why? Look, think, listen. Children are being actively discriminated against. Look up Jordan's principle and think of the consequence. Look, think, listen. People are screened with a negative lens all the time, applying for jobs and homes, shopping in the store, while being judged to be some kind of addict or criminal because they couldn't be more. Look, think, listen. Missing and murdered Indigenous women. It's 2020, 2021 now. Why and how is this still happening? This society is broken. Look, think, listen. People suffering with addiction. Don't you realize residential schools weren't that long ago? And we're all about destruction? The 60s scoop, the trauma, the intergenerational trauma, the cultural genocide. Look, think, listen. What is reconciliation? What's the point? Why is it important? It's making a promise to be better, to not make the same mistakes over and over again. It's treating people with compassion. It's starting to dismantle the racism in society. It's acknowledging that some of your perceptions and actions can be racist and discriminatory. Reconciliation is important because racism and hate against Indigenous peoples are still here and thriving. What's happening in Wet'suwet'en is a prime example, and it's baffling. Look, think, listen. Become an ally. Identify the racist undertones around you. Identify what ideas and perceptions you have. Examine them. Have conversations and ask questions. Try and understand the historical and present traumas. Look, listen, and think with compassion. We are here. Be better, treat others better, and treat yourself better. Hope ain't lost. The war ain't lost. And we ain't lost. We are here. We are strong. We are resilient. We are Indigenous, and we are proud. The world is watching. The veil is breaking. You can't hide anymore. So many more eyes than before. That see, we are here. That see, we aren't going anywhere. They are starting to stand with us. They are beginning to understand that Canada isn't always what it is known for. Change is happening now. Thank you.
I wrote this poem last week, thinking about the upcoming Canada Day. And it's just sheer luck that this is Indigenous People Week that I'm reading this, and I don't know if I can get through it, Amanda. It's called "Oh Canada." Do you hear them? Do you hear them calling? Do you hear them calling to your heart for acknowledgement? I hope so. I hope every Canadian, every human heart hears their voices, 215 voices, calling us to account, calling us to affirm they did not die unmourned, unnoticed, calling us to face the reality of our country's past and present. O Canada, our home and native land, in truth, our home, the first natives' land. True patriot love demands we face and recognize our country's shame, our sickening, sordid past. I used to think the post-war Germans' protest we didn't know was a shameful excuse, a blind denial of reality. But now I think I understand. We, that is people like me, didn't know either at the time of its happening what was being done to our first peoples. I grew up in a world recovering from a terrible war, a war that had raged globally, a war that took many millions of human lives and forever changed the lives of millions more. Yet this was a brave new world, full of optimism and hope, with baby boomers being born in record numbers, at least for people like me, growing up in white middle-class neighborhoods where everyone belonged, even those few whose accents told of past escape from other lands to build new lives in this good land, unless perhaps their accent was German. Children like me went to white middle-class schools, attended white middle-class churches, joined organizations like Brownies and Guides, took swimming lessons at the Y. We felt secure and free, confident in our future. Meanwhile, children just like me, except for accident of birth, children who had first claim to this land we all so blithely called home, were being forcibly torn from their families, from all that was familiar, herded into mostly church-run schools where they were fortunate if they survived. Tales of cruelty, abuse, even murder did not surface for many a long year. It was in truth a genocide, for even those who survived their childhood were not supposed to have any Indian left in them. I did not know. Did my parents know, my teachers, my Sunday school leaders? Certainly many did know, those who approved it, those who took part in it in any way. Oh, Canada, you hid your dirty secrets well. I was in my mid-30s before I learned of another national outrage, that involving Canadians of Japanese origin, potential spies for their motherland, being the excuse for ripping them from their lives and livelihoods, stealing their property and herding them into isolated internment in what we refused to call concentration camps. Oh, Canada, the true North, strong and free. With glowing hearts, we celebrate this Canada Day and every day the good there is about our land. But with what are our hearts glowing? It cannot be pride, for we must now face our national shadow, our national shame. We whites are called to atonement, and much must change. Our hearts must glow with a demand for justice. Residential schools may now be closed, but their lethal legacy will last for generations. Those drunks we fear and disdain passed out in our city parks or lurching around on downtown streets. There's a reason they're like that, and it's not lack of character and will. Far too many reserves do not have safe, clean water, yet year after year, governments refuse to act. Our prisons have a disproportionate number of Indigenous inmates, and we don't even know how many First Nations women have been kidnapped and murdered along lonely highways or even from busy city centers. And it's still happening. Indigenous and other Canadians who don't pass as the societally sanctioned white face discrimination and difficulties every day. If we really want God to keep our land glorious and free, we white folks must wake up, confess and acknowledge our faults, and change our national ways. 215 children's voices are calling from unmarked graves, and their number is increasing as more graves are found, marked only by Creator's tears. How can we stand on guard until we own our guilt and make true reconciliation from the heart, and not just in word, but in deed? O Canada, we have sinned. We have sinned. We have most grievously sinned.
I've written a couple new poems because I've gotten tired of listening to my old ones, so it was time. So you will be the first audience for the first two. So the first one I wrote is called More Than I Need and All That I Want. Growing up, I always had enough food, a good place to live, clothes, etc., but never enough of what I really needed. I wanted something more. I needed paper to cut, paper to paint, to tear out, to glue together. I needed paints, brushes, colors, pens, journals, colored pencils. I needed permission to play, encouragement to explore, and some time to do it in. I sometimes say now that I just never got enough kindergarten, but I don't ever remember doing those things even in kindergarten. The little girl in me devoured the craft pages in a magazine we had at home, but there were never the supplies in our home to do any of those crafts. No popsicle sticks, no construction paper, no glue, and the scissors were always lost. 2 babies much younger than I, plus a mom who was always sick, made for too chaotic a home to have a craft supplies cabinet. Until I was 39 years old, I never remember even holding a paintbrush. Oh well. But at 57, with the right encouragement and a curious mind, I picked up a paintbrush along with my pen, and I haven't put either down since. And I know where the scissors are now. I have more than I need and all that I want of paints, brushes, papers, cardboard, canvases, glues, tapes, markers, and lots and lots and lots of colors. I even have a room of my own. It's small, but gloriously enough. Now I have more than I need and all that I want of almost everything I've longed for, except for enough time. Time to dream. Time to think, time to experiment, time to play, time to write, time to paint. Oh well, I have plenty of time to love, and I do.
will read Stay Silent, and it has a brief intro. Ay, no digas nada, que se caiga la lengua, no digas nada, se te caerá la lengua, no digas nada. It takes 4 generations to break a curse. Mother told sister she won't have kids because she's bad seed. Poor sister lost 5, 4 miscarriages and 1 stillborn. Stay still spell, bred by her giver, who begat it from her maker, who got it from his creator. Push, push the jinx away. Sister prayed. Mother thought her prayers were no good because they were either too soggy or too stale and missing some grit and bone, and flowers ain't gonna grow. She needs to pray harder. She needs to push more. But she's got a sincere heart, Mama. Push, push the jinx away. Mother said sister's got a dirty heart and she needs to make herself good. Drink these soapy suds, cleanse your tongue, purify your insides. That's gonna make her sick, Mama. Push, push the jinx away. Sister pushed a stillborn baby. Baby never cried, sister often cries. Therapist told her to meditate, and she meditates in her cage for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. She's got the faith of a mustard seed and the hatred of a mountain. Thank you.
I got a few ones. Obviously, it will be still working on some, but I got a couple. This one here is called I'm Just Here. I saw her, because it's all in my head. That song slams my neurons against me in this moment. I'm a freak of nature, I know that. I was crisscrossing people up and down the path on my bike, the city red wagon one speed. The hamstrings burn. The visual of people and animals become my shift down, shift up. The geese there lauding at each other. They're at the little convenience store on the ground where the mirage plum trees sit overlooking the lake. What lake is it to you? I saw her face. When shit don't go away, we need to fix it. Could you tell me where did you get the nerve? The song said, Red Grand Dame. I just saw when my heart palpitates. I looked up, she rode her bike past so fast, her purple brown hair, her dark tan skin, her blue and green BMX, her tattoos on the left leg, maybe everywhere else too. Her laces stringed together as she flies with the geese. She reminds me of a growed up flyaway home girl. I swear my friend from the past just rode by on his black Halo longboard. It was Billy, Joel, and Trevor. Cadence is what happened to me in that moment when I said to myself, I wonder what he's thinking. One last word, one last moment. That song, 8:30 p.m., the blackest, loudest Monte Carlo I have ever seen, 1987. My father's prized car when he was a dad in 89 was a purple and silver Monte Carlo. As long as there is breath in me, the song said, and lending its intentions. I'm processing my trauma through the vacancy in my heart. Pay attention to it, right? The choice loudest of P's and Q's. Don't use a Q-tip this time and point yourself in the mirror. The screens you're going to see in the eyes anyway. 11:17, 9:53. Between and after, this goose took off from the open lake and landed itself just over a fence and gliding to the soft grass where its peers were. The lone mallard duck's beautiful blue and majestic green moving its webbed feet on that silky water, breezing with the evening oxygen air spreading over gravity. 16:30. Fertility and pain management, autoimmunity and digestion. I'm sitting on the sidewalk place. They called to give me the art hat. I said I'm around Native Counseling Services of Alberta, Southern Optical. They told me I was the Joker making no sense with quick reference. The hat, not me. Think about it. Imagine the Harry Potter selector hat being, why so serious? And then Sirius Black shows up.
I don't know if all of you have seen Wind Talkers. I watched it a few times. It was about the Navajo who were in the US military during, I think it was World War II. And they used them for communication because they spoke a language that nobody else could decipher over the radio. And there were some interesting events in there, and that's all I'm going to say. The poem is written not from a white person's perspective, but from a First Nations perspective or Indigenous person's perspective. Don't look at the color of my skin. Don't look at where I came from or the clothes I wear. Look at me with your eyes closed, and you will see much more than your eyes can ever see. Don't listen to me with your ears. You may not understand my language. Listen to me with your soul, and then our hearts will beat to the same rhythm, regardless of race, color, religion, or beliefs, because we are human. We are only human, and we can live in harmony. We can respect each other. I can learn from you, and you can learn from me. We don't have to be threatened by our differences. That is what makes life colorful. You can hear my accent as charming. It does not have to be heard as something negative. My customs are just as sacred and beautiful as yours. If you don't understand them, I am willing to share. I am willing to show you how wonderful life can be when we look at each other as brothers and sisters, as opposed to strangers or enemies.
I decided I would read this poem, which is from December 14th, 2019, because it's about Brent, my partner, and we've been together for 3 years now. It's just our anniversary, so I wanted to read this one. It's called Take Me Back. Take me back to a time of pure bliss, where we shared a perfect kiss, where our conversations flowed so effortlessly, like a wave rippling through the water. Remember that night, us laying near the fire, hearing the crackles and pops, feeling the crisp breeze on our faces, while gazing up at billions of stars. It was one of those perfect moments where time stood still, where we saw the northern lights dancing in the sky. We were all cuddled up and our bodies were tangled together as if we were one.
This is another new one. And if you remember the last poem, I ended with lamenting that I didn't feel I had enough time. So I had to write this one in response to that. Let me expand into the abundance. Let me expand into the abundance of what time I have. As long as I live, may I follow the inner map, this longing to express a lifetime of experience and observation, not only in words, but in color and symbol in the making of marks. At its best, may what comes be inspiration to others, hope for the discouraged, maps for the searchers, and mirrors to the explorers. May the breadcrumbs I leave be a legacy of making some truth, telling the beauty, asking deep questions, even when inconvenient. An invitation to live out loud, unafraid and whole, fully ourselves, and encouragement for all. Come on, there's more of us every day. There's more of us every day.
My poem is called More. So I'll just start. I want a poet kind of love, carefully crafted, one that keeps falling, a love committed, ardent, and feverish, to find and unveil, to drape in symbolism. I want a poet kind of love, frustrated and eager to give a heart with its trinkets and treasures, afflictions and pleasures, one that bleeds for growth and sows seeds that sinks to uplift and won't let go. Of the pen, of the words that come like a perennial stillness or ephemeral enchantment, a poet kind of love, in free verse or iambic pentameter, an ode for finding completion in the act of never really completing, for the captured moment, regardless of how dreadful, because someone is there to share it with. And the moon and the stars are not enough, and the flowers and trees are not enough. The overwhelming feeling, the impetus to embrace that kind of love that aligns and breathes metaphors and similes, that grips and grapples for continuity, a flow, a progression of more stanzas yet to be written.
This one is called The Man Up on the Gala. As I'm walking him, he's so interested in the other two dogs. They are kind while their family masters are women talking about life. At a moment, though, I see this man way in the distance as I stare at him, 69 years old. His glance stares at the horizon. I wonder what he's thinking. Maybe it was like my papa did when, or did you, he was taking a glimpse one last time of beauty. This woman over here talking about their men and their lives, a pregnant belly. I was like on first day. I was like on second day. He's like, I still look the same. She laughs. I was like, thank God. My dog behaves with infant precision. So much, okay much. I was walking up the hill. I was looking for framing. My mind is not adjusting. I want to take this moment to say what I see. It's a dandelion seed, but like the raceness of the road, the swayness of the wind, the solar power of the sun, these women's like an animal kingdom here in this nation, in this city. Not eavesdropping on their conversation. It's me taking moments to be at peace, write what I see. Says I have makeover. I feel so overdone. Wake up in their tanness as summer realms of winter long ago, which at this moment suddenly the dog barks. I'm not looking. My dog is sitting, staring at them in the corridors of the open gravel, crossing the voices, sectioned off of I was only deaf. If I put a D on the end of that, what would it sound like? She's stressed because of the baby. I told him, and then I left. Just wait until you're 35 weeks pregnant. Nobody ever knows I write poetry about them. When am I going to leave in this moment? I went to golf with you a month ago. She's like, this is sisterhood, friendship. Here, white women with their present and futures right in front of them, in the middle of them, like an equivalent. I still wonder about that man. I could have cuddled up by the post with the metal wire and observed him. The moments of human. It was that moment. He was just focused on that sunset horizon. As I may come to close with this poem, other folks start their cars. No barks anymore. Wheels backing up on gravel, 10 kilometers an hour, 20 kilometers an hour, 30 kilometers an hour. The turn lane, maximum, 60 kilometers an hour. The scooter took that man up the cement. His legacy is behind those sunglasses. It's this moment you always have to say goodbye to. It's like that. Now you know how I feel. Is this for a Spice Gal song? A gala happened just now. Did you see it?
I would like to share a funny poem this time, because I think we all need a little bit of humor after those heavy moments we had. And with that, I have to acknowledge that it was important that we shared those heavy poems, especially during Indigenous Week, which I was unaware of. Anyway, this is a funny poem, and it's called Home Remedies. My friend has a fabulous home remedy for every ailment and disease. She says that chicken soup is best for sniffles and colds. She takes white wine for headaches and red wine for low blood pressure. She drinks brandy for cramps and vodka for increased hair growth. Unfortunately, vodka mostly increases her chest hair growth. She takes a massage for muscle pain and kickboxing for kicking ass. She says, "You better be smart if you want to be a smartass, or else you are only, well, you know what." My friend uses castor oil for her abdomen, for bloating, and for severe PMS pain. She rubs coconut oil on her hands and certain other body parts we cannot mention here. My friend has a fabulous home remedy for everything, but when I asked her about the use of water, she said, "It is great for showers and baths."
You know what? I'm just going to read that poem that I wrote for my mom that's on the computer. I've already read it a few times, but
That's
it doesn't
okay.
matter because I love it. I actually have a full one. French is trying to pass me a drink. So kind of him, but I already have one. All right. This is called, well, it's just called Mom Valued Her Culture. Mom valued her culture in ways she could. She collected eagles as they reminded her of her family and her grandparents. She was the one who told me eagles were good luck, and she even told me she was proud to be Mi'kmaq. I remember when she left one time, the one thing she insisted on keeping was the medicine bag her grandpa gave her. She wasn't even in her right mind. She was high, but it was still so important to her. I admired that about her, that she valued her culture, a culture that I'm still learning about, my culture. And just now, a song came on my partner's radio show. It was Carly B singing a traditional tribute song for her grandfather. Beautiful song. I could even feel it flowing through me. This song was engineered by my partner, played on the radio by my partner, who discussed what was happening in Wet'suwet'en. And who cares? This is beautiful. This is reconciliation. This is valuing and respecting another's culture and being an ally. My mom would have loved this. I think she was watching us last week when we were about to leave Calgary. I drank the night before and was feeling exceptionally anxious. We were in the drive-thru at Tim Hortons after seeing my Mirada and my Megaju, my grandpa and grandma. And I noticed something out of the corner of my eye flying above us. An eagle. Yi-ho is how you say it in Mi'kmaq. Warmness and love radiate through me. It's my mom, Yisalu, which means I love you.
This poem is from my childhood in California, living in the Central Valley on my grandparents' farm. From the early 1950s, sleeping under bridges. Walking the railway lines, he hacked and he coughed. To our family, his name was Old Honk. He'd fought in the wars, perhaps 1 or 2. He might have had TB, nobody knew. My grandma, very smart and never alarmed. She fed the hobos for work on the farm. Sometimes they'd chop wood, or they'd weed and rake. A sandwich, coffee, and pie was their take. She said they'd marked farms where they could find chores. I was certain they'd mark the pump house door. I scoured farm fences and tree trunks for marks, but no X revealed our place as their spot. Old Honk had no bedroll, nothing at all. His clothes seemed ancient, filthy, and small. Grandma, where does Old Honk sleep in the night? Oh, under the trestles or bridges, he might. Now I've seen those near irrigation canals, where the long grasses and reeds grew in great snarls, spider webs hung with bug corpses in ropes, while snakes sunned themselves on sunny slopes. How could he sleep with black widows around, or rattlesnakes trying to keep warm on the ground? That those old soldiers had no place to stay haunts me and gives me no peace to this day.
I'm going to close with two very short tongue-in-cheek poems. The first one is called Procrastination. I am a procrastinator. It would be much better to be an anti-crastinator, but since I keep putting that off, I remain determinedly pro. And the second one is called Iceland. As I watch videos of Iceland's volcanoes spewing forth and flowing so much matter from our planet's depth, I'm beset by an image of Mother Earth suddenly deflating, shooting off her course in a massive cosmic like a balloon freed from its restraining string.
I was born curious, as we all are, longing to understand the all, the infinite, the big G, looking for reality, for the metaphors to carry me across the annoyances of computer glitches and dirty dishes to the other world here amongst us. One day, I saw the rose blooming, one petal after another opening up as I watched. Mystery wasn't unknowable or ineffably beyond, but as the rose, opening more and more to our vision. The more we know, the more we can know. The more we see, the more opens up to be seen. In my vision, I was a little smaller than the rose, scampering from one recently opened petal to the next, following beauty step by glorious step to the center, where I saw the roiling, boiling liquid fire, the inner core of an active volcano. Every few minutes, the power of the volcanic core of the rose would shoot fire into the sky, a beacon to all that here now was light, power, beauty. Here at the heart of mystery, progressively revealing itself, was a bridge to the other amongst us, an other infinitely at home, infinitely gathering us into its mystery.
I wrote this poem in response to the inequities in Canada about the Indigenous people, and I've been writing it for a while, and then the graves were discovered in Kamloops, and then I finished this poem. It's called An Appeal for Truth. How do you disappear a people? Take away their food, it's simple. Move them from their habitat, then grab their land. It's as quick as that. We are experts at this now, it seems. Our greed can destroy most everything. By killing buffalo to starve a culture, as settlers, we became the prairie vulture. We write the texts our children study, omitting facts we'd rather bury. Yet some kept trophies of our wanton acts in photos, like the bison skulls in stacks. Stolen children, ruined lives, our shame. Ancient culture washed from each child's young brain. Survivors told grim, horrifying stories of classmates tortured, of hidden bodies. Few believed their tales of chilling fright, preferred to think kids ran away at night. Daily hundreds more unmarked graves revealed beneath residential school grounds concealed. We must act now to overcome inaction. Implement 94 calls to action. Rome must soon send its documentation. Stop stymieing this investigation. Our whitewashed history, replete with lies, must reclaim the truth which it belies. To end First Nations annihilation, put truth before reconciliation.
So my next poem is called Corazon, which means heart in Spanish. I'm not calling for money. Pick up your phone. Don't give me a cup of sugar or bowl of rice. Can't you hear it ringing? I've been trying to call for a while now. My heart is heavy, long time suffering. Don't want patience, not looking for pity. I want to hear a prayer. One without many hallelujahs wrapped in chandeliers and things happen for a reason and glory for the pain. I don't like this much pain. I'm not fragile. I don't like to complain. I'm tired. Give me a prayer without judgment and rebukes. Righteousness runs away from me and I chase and I keep chasing. Pray for me. Pray for me like you mean it. Don't need anointing oil on my forehead. Pray for me like I'm worthy of saving and the extra pearl on your crown isn't in your consciousness. I don't want to be your good deed. Save the dark valleys and the shadows of death. Don't try to teach me. Say a prayer like you're not disappointed. Say a prayer like you love me.
During the heat wave, I was sitting in my car and this is what came forth. Sitting in my car in 38 degrees C, contemplating relief from my AC. The open windows gave no relief. Climate changes now, it's my belief. To start the AC, I'd need the motor, but cars just idling are things I abhor. I try to imagine that I am cool, that I have an ice pack or am in a pool. A shopper appears with goods in his pack. He unlocks his bike, swings sack to his back. As I sit looking, our eyes briefly meet. Caught, people watching, I felt upset. Patched knapsack and pants tell of his plight. I sit in my car as he mounts his bike. With a quick flick, I could turn on AC as he rides along the sweltering streets. I tell myself I have ridden my bike on streets where the heat cut me like a knife. Yet when I saw his eyes, I felt such shame. The weight of my riches drowned my poor brain.
This one is called Racism Is Not Here. Maybe I should call this Forest White Taker. I feel like when I walk into a pub now, I'm looking for a bus seat. It's like starting out in the front. Have everyone look at you while you're spending time thinking about the inevitable and like walking down the aisle look for a seat. Remember Rosa Parks? Remember Viola Desmond? White men singing the blues, not afraid. They aren't in senior homes. Here playing the guitar, playing those drums. This encourages me. White men playing feelings this good, giving acknowledgement to the process kind of day. Won't be back until the 4th of July. I love these white old 65 guys. They're singing the language of no fools. The table chairs disappear. If asked, they're like, I'm gonna fly away upon no permission of my own. Tragically, can't play right now, but she has a wonderful voice. Hear it. It's not about being good enough. That's what I used to think. Drennan. That makes sense. The accordion player with the talent to muse everyone. The talent because they really are. This makes me think of Titanic. Imagine the protests. The 4 of them sounding just like this, accordion, blues, and rhythm. If I get a poem out of this, smack me upside my head. They walk by you when you delete them off social media. See the difference? I'm not out of their compactor, but whatever. This is definitely not going to be called whatever. Her hair so dark. As I am, mother is dishing out beer bottles and paddles of men hang her upside the arse. She gave the fist to them until she couldn't. My feelings about this aren't extravagant. I feel like the big boy who held the little boy on his shoulders, and this little boy told me my own past. I forget what that book name is. I was in grade 7 when I read it. The little boy died, and the big boy carried on his hope, his words, his heart, and changed himself. It's like that. I didn't come here to pull triggers. These triggers pulled me. Simon in that movie proved with a little courage and heart he could change his friend's martyr. I told my cousin today I didn't like Papa. The whole family is mad at my dad. He didn't start it. I told my cousin Papa was an alcoholic like her mother with an addiction. She said Papa was so awesome. I forgave her for that. The hurt, there's a hurt locker. I should burn the remnants. I can't though. I'm still pale and enveloped. My dad's tears when I was 19 are different now than I'm 31's. I have brothers who are 14 and 12. Someone made me feel like an imbecile. I won't say her connection. I love her, but I can't be what they want no more. Let it out. It's a rainstorm. It's a storm. There's no period. I could tell a woman I understand her period, but I know its emotions above the horizons. Can I beat myself? I'm 12 and 12. If I can just harness that energon, you know? Optimus Prime was a friend with a boy. I don't want to keep failing, but I see the tears of men and women and children down in an empire that holds them down. There's no devils at crossroads. The Christ can change him. Mother Teresa didn't care what color you were. You were human. That's all that mattered. That's what should matter. Black lives matter. Not every life matters for 7 days anyway. The tapes of my past dribbled. He's holding back. He's hiding. For what I can't decide. Why won't he be who he is, the person I see inside? The truth about my past impossible should turn away from me. I just can't wait to be. Truth is, wait, please. All these voices on the radio, no consequences. Terminator salvation, social salvation. I feel like this African rhythm. I thank you for that. I truly do. Am I here? Am I happy here? I can feel here at this table, listening to them. Thank you for that. Sincerely. He said when I was a young man, when you play this good, you gotta cry. He sang, what's on people's minds? Oh wow, I can't stop this. The bubbles in this corona are a metaphor. A man at 21 wearing a black leather jacket as he's putting it on. I see his white shirt. No protest, no peace. Word, brother. He made me feel like I was listening to the tears in heaven. Give it up for Kevin, he said, the deserving voice of man. Post Laureate of Canada, he said. Gord Downey, thank you. Good night. We love our family, but they are a part of me. Marty sang 1924. We should put a tavern on Whoop Up so people can walk in when they're 0 to 80. I'll do onto you as I do onto them. You guys are scared of parking meters. Are you guys scared of Indians?
Even though we had COVID, our pets still had to go to the vet, but they were very cautious and we couldn't go inside. COVID vet visit. I called on arrival as per her request. Kate opened the clinic door on the west. I'll get the kennel. Please pop your car's hatch. I did as advised and released the hatch. Shaken, eyes fearful, with their ears turned down. You're not our mistress, was clear from their frowns. Kate staggered under our cage's wide hulk. 4 bodies slid as they shifted their bulk. These are Bengal cats mixed with Siamese. Their leopard cat roots make them ill at ease. Bangles and lightning fight every day. They bite and they scratch. I hope they're okay. Later, the vet rang my mobile car line. We gave the kittens their shots. They're all fine. Thanks. And you'll neuter poor Lightning today? Yes, and next month, your Bangles will spay. The cats are siblings, just like the kittens, so pregnancy is strictly forbidden. The cats and kittens' parents are siblings too. The cats and kittens are cousins, ergo. Look, lady, I'm really busy. Genealogy talk makes me dizzy. Soon Bangles can't get pregnant by her brother. Got any concerns about the others? Well, Fluffy's too thin and Thunder's too fat. Perhaps she has worms, perhaps he eats rats. Look, their weights are just fine. We'll deworm them all. Cats eat mice full of worms, both large and small. Now don't worry about the days ahead. I'll take care of your kittens. Go home instead. We'll call you when the 4 can come back home. But bring lots of money, then they'll again roam.
So her name is Nina, and she's my friend. And she is cooking a meal, and it smells amazing in here. And I love her to pieces.
Thanks for letting her come out here.
So Nina lives in Fanny Bay, and if you ever watch my Fanny Bay video, you sort of understand the area and what the people are like. And my biggest observation was that people care about the land they live in, they love nature, they connect with each other, they support each other, and they pay attention to the little details like the moon cycles, like the tide, and what the tide is doing, and how much wind there's gonna be out on the ocean, because when you're out in a boat you have to know all those things. So the poem is called Full Moon in December, and I wrote it in Lethbridge when I was thinking of Nina looking at the full moon, because we used to have full moon ceremonies around here when I lived here. So the poem again is called Full Moon in December, and it's dedicated to my friend Nina LeBlanc. It is full moon tonight, and she is shining bright on a cold, snowy night. The snow is sparkling, reflecting the moonlight. It looks like shiny glitter spread all over the land. I think of you, looking at the bright moonlight, and think of the wonderful nights we spent under the moon and stars, swimming in the ocean at sunsets and moonlit nights. I think of the breathtaking beauty of Fanny Bay in its full glory. Now, my thoughts are back to Lethbridge, Alberta, to the present moment, peeking out my window, looking at the full moon and the calm, quiet moments of a full moon on a December night.